Hello friends, thank you so much for joining me today. So who here really likes the feeling when something comes up that reminds you of makeup from the old days? For me, old days is kind of like when I first started. I'm thinking late 90s, early 2000s, my earliest years using makeup, really getting fascinated with what was being sold in the drugstore, you know. I love that nostalgic feeling, you know, when things take me back to that time. And I was thinking the other day, what if I did a full face of products that are currently sold, but that definitely give me that feeling, you know, from the good old days. That's what I want to focus on today. It's going to be a full face, pretty much. And what's also interesting are the things that won't be included. For example, primer doesn't make me feel nostalgic. That was never anything that was even talked about, really, when I started using makeup. Also, highlighters. You mean the lightest shade in a CoverGirl Instant Cheekbones trio? That was my only exposure to a highlight for a long time. It just wasn't a thing. And then setting sprays. We're not having that either. So now we can get going with it. And the first thing that definitely takes me back, gives me a nostalgic feel, but is still around to this day, the Maybelline Fit Me foundation stick. Now they used to have something, and somebody popped up an old ad actually fairly recently. I think it came up on my Instagram feed of like Sarah Michelle Gellar. She was the girl on the ad for Maybelline's Shine Free foundation stick. I think Express was in the name, but they've held on to this Fit Me Shine Free plus Balance foundation stick for combination skin, and it's still like just the same vibe. You twist it up, it's the same shape, size, packaging idea. It's got that little core that's going to give you the shine free element to your look. I feel like that stick was a go-to for me for a long time. I loved the way it applied, and I felt like it was easy to blend. Also, a couple other things that I thought of too were the CoverGirl Smoothers, like tinted moisturizer stuff. I remember it being available in exactly 2 shades, but I think CoverGirl does still have that stuff. And if I wasn't wearing one of those, I remember getting into this cream compact from CoverGirl. It was called Ultimate something, and it was like a little rectangular black compact with the puff in there. It was like a cream foundation. I would use that too, but this kind of gives that cream foundation vibe. So we're going straight on top of the skincare. If we really get nostalgic, we'd have like next to nothing going on for any sort of skincare. But just the products themselves, this one takes me back, and you can still get it, and it's a good foundation stick too. So I'm gonna blend that out with my little buffing brush here. I probably would have just blended this with my fingers or like a white triangle sponge. But yeah, I guess we're kind of like recreating, hopefully, what'll turn out to be a better take, a more informed, educated take on my earliest type of makeup look. Let's see how easy that is to blend out, and it just evens your skin. It's a medium coverage type of thing. I think I felt rather intimidated by liquid foundations outside of like the bottle of CoverGirl clean makeup, you know. I was looking for those alternate kinds of formulas like a stick. Okay, so that's all blended in. My skin is evened out quite a bit. When I think about concealer, I definitely feel nostalgic when I see one of the like lipstick bullet types of concealers. This is from CoverGirl, and this is their like CG Smoothers one in light. Actually very creamy, really nice formula here, but I distinctly remember owning one from Maybelline. Twist up stick, looked like a lipstick. It was so dry, it was so thick across the skin, like it was not the best, but this stuff is good. Also, you can get a couple other good sticks in the drugstore. Almay makes one, and of course Neutrogena. I talk about their Hydro Boost one a lot, but there's something about CoverGirls that feels so like classic. I don't know, but I'm gonna work this in. I'm gonna apply it around my under eye area, right out here. I'm just gonna focus on my normal concealing zones, but it's super smooth. Like this has a fantastic glide. Sticks, y'all. Sticks. And then I'm taking my Morphe concealer brush and just pressing that in. We'll see if we can get a good, brightened, as much coverage as we need look with this. And of course, as always, I want to know how you feel about this and what products take you back. And do you still use any of them regularly to this day? I mean, what I'm using here, this wasn't stuff I went out and bought. Like I have it in my collection, and I do use it from time to time. Maybe this video will drive me to pick some of these things up a bit more. But the glide of that concealer stick is ridiculously good, and we'll really have to assess here how much coverage we feel like we're coming away with. Now look at the gleam on top of my skin, actually. Like, I was well prepped beforehand, but these sticks really aren't zapping me of my moisture, which is good. Now for powder, for me personally, I feel like it's the pressed powders that bring me back to that old school makeup time more than loose powders, because I just didn't use loose powders that much, even though I know Airspun has been around forever, and that probably takes some of you back too. I remember owning, back in the day, I had like a shine-free loose powder from Maybelline, but the main thing I used was powder in compacts most of the time, and it's rarely sold this way anymore, but a powder that has the puff sitting on the compact. I think CoverGirl's might still be this way. You know, like you open up the pressed powder. This LA Colors one, this is loose, but you know, the powder sitting on the stuff. Yeah, this is a crazy product. Loose powder, but in a small compact kind of form. We talked about that before. So anything packaged that way takes me back, and I couldn't believe looking through my collection how little I have that is that way. But my Maybelline Fit Me powder, that one kind of takes me back. So this is the matte and poreless powder in porcelain, and it is packaged in such a way that it kind of hides your sponge down beneath. But you do have that included mirror and just that type of concept. I was using a lot of pressed powder, and I'm going to take a little triangle puff with this. I have compared this one to the lightest shade of my Kosas Cloud set. Sorry, kitten scratching. Just a minute, Rosie. It's really like the closest thing I can come up with in the drugstore to doing what that one does. But I feel like I'm adding a little coverage and brightness, and I'm getting this all over my T-zone. Just dabbing it in. I don't really want this heavily all over my skin because it's such a light brightening shade, this porcelain. But my under eye feels pretty set. Need a little more. But look, the skin is not doing bad for products that are just, you know, taking me back. Feeling old school. Feeling old school. The next thing that takes me back, it's not cream bronzer. It's not sticks and liquid bronzers. It's a good old powder bronzer. You can still get Rimmel Natural Bronzer. I still regularly talk about this stuff. This shade is called Sun Bronze. Well, cap lifts off, but you know, a classic drugstore powder bronzer. I got into using this not really at the start of my makeup using days, but more so when I was like in college and big time when I started in on the news. Because I was like, okay, I remember seeing myself after that first time anchoring, filling in on a Christmas Eve, the most newbie anchor you'd ever seen, looking back on camera thinking, I need more color. And bronzer became a good friend of mine for many years. Because you could even think in that environment, this was pre-HD, okay? During my time at Channel 3 was when they made that HD transition, and they were early in doing so, actually. First one in our market, and I felt like the pre-HD mode, while the camera quality wasn't as clear, the lighting on you could still be real harsh. So got into bronzer in a big way, and knowing that even if you feel like, oh, this is a lot of bronzer as I sit here at my makeup mirror, you're going to go into the studio and look at yourself and be like, I could use more. So I'm just taking this, I'm using it around my normal like kind of bronzing and contour zones. This is a real easy one. It's not too light, not too dark. So if you want to get a contour out of it, you can feel a little chiseled there. And what someone had mentioned in a recent video was, let's expand the shade range. Yes, I'm with you on that. If Rimmel could like create some deeper shades so deeper skin tones could get something more out of this, that would be great. Because I don't think we've really seen a change to this line ever since I've been using it. Like, it seems like it's the same selection of shades, except they did have some shimmery ones at one point, like shimmer brick style. Remember Physicians Formula was doing that? Everybody was basically copying Bobbi Brown. Those shimmer bricks take me back, but again, that wasn't quite my earliest time with things. It was a while before I got into highlighting. Blush-wise, again, we're talking powder. That powder texture was more the thing for me than any kind of cream, and that was because that was the main thing that was readily available. So when I see CoverGirl cheekers, I go back. The shade was Pretty Peach. Is Pretty Peach still being sold? I know somebody's gonna know in the comments section, but this is Brick Rose. And I remember reading about Brick Rose in probably my YM or 17 magazines, you know, like, oh, makeup artists love Brick Rose. And yes, I will always hold on to that little brush that comes in it. There's something that just feels wrong about getting rid of that brush, even if I'm never going to use it. I'm going to use my e.l.f. blush brush. Go into some of this Brick Rose. It's going to show. Yes, that soft tone. There's probably a little satin finish in this. Okay, I'm rediscovering Brick Rose in a big way. This is probably like we were just talking about Tarte Exposed. Like this might be your little drugstore take on that. This is fun. Like, have you ever tried to sort of recreate your makeup look from the early days with what's currently available now? What brings you closest to it? I think that looks good. I feel fresh. I feel actually like that kind of added to the contour. But yeah, I'm not applying highlighter because that just wasn't my thing for a while in makeup. Now for brows, does anybody remember, has anybody been with me long enough that they remember seeing me do videos in the apartment and me showing this little L'Oreal single, a matte brown, kind of neutral brown eyeshadow single that I believe I was holding together with a little elastic band, and that would be what I used to fill in my brows. Like, this is my early news days, that's what I used. It wasn't even a lot of filling in. I wasn't doing much, except I knew I had like a little scar to deal with, and that was pretty much it. So looking through the brow powders I only own a few specific brow powders right now, and I don't think any of them are currently being sold. Like this one from Maybelline. Maybelline sold one, a specific brow powder called Ultra Brow, and I have it in dark brown, and I'm going to use that today. But like, I don't think Sydney Grace is still selling their like powder brow palette. It Cosmetics Brow Power in the little thing. I don't think they're doing that anymore, except maybe within their like larger gifty palettes. I don't know, but this does come with a small little stiff brush, and this is going to take me back for sure. But we'll see if I can get a satisfying filling, because I certainly do more to my brows now than I did when I started. When I started, there was nothing happening, and then slowly I worked into this. I mean, I was all about, in my early days, can we just get rid of the unibrow? You know, I was tweezing, I was getting myself down to way too small of brows back in the 90s. So clearly I'm trying to block out that part. I'm not trying to bring back my thin brow era at all. So we'll think about the first time I did fill in with something. It was with powder. That actually looks pretty good. I mean, right brow is just so easy for me. The stiffness and the slight width of this little brush that comes with it is actually great. And I would have this forever, you know? This is a lot of like pigmented powder here. But yeah, I used that L'Oreal single a lot. I know I hit pan on it. And it wasn't that brow pencils weren't available in that time. It was just, that was what I used. I think I was scared of the idea of a brow pencil for a long time. Had to ease into the idea of filling them in after I basically made it my life's mission to make my brows as thin as possible for a period of years. I could kick myself. But at least for me, they did grow back. Still tweezing a unibrow to this day. Okay, I'm trying here on the left. It's just a little thinner. I don't know. It's taken me a bit, but I'm getting there. It just is gonna be a softer look with brow powder, and it's hard because it's like, how do you get down there into the skin of it all? Because you're just going straight over hair. But that might do it for me for today. And then for a gel, it's got to be a no frills type of gel that makes me think back to the old times, like something that might even be marketed as a lash and brow gel, like this one from Wet n Wild, the Mega Clear. A no frills, just gel. That's what I used. And that's what they were selling, you know? Brows weren't this huge sector of makeup brands. They didn't have that massive footprint in the drugstore with all these different options. So you want a brow gel, this would be the brow gel. This type of thing. I know CoverGirl had one too. CoverGirl had that clear mascara, y'all. That's where we all started, wasn't it? Hi, sweetie. Bisky's just watching me calmly. So eyeshadow. I'm gonna do one thing that I never would have had access to back when I first began makeup, and that is eye primer. I'm not gonna throw my look down the tubes today and not do any eye primer, because that would have helped me so much. That would have extended the wear and just the vibrant quality of so many cheapo eyeshadows that I had way back when, if I just could have had some eye primer, right? So I'm blending in my Milani eyeshadow primer, getting it in my crease. This is a good time to check and see if any of your face makeup, like I can see a little bit there, got into your crease, and kind of rub that away. Make sure that's not clogging up the works here. And then with eyeshadows, what takes me back? Singles. Singles from like CoverGirl and Maybelline. Like I have one here called Nude Glow from Maybelline. They're still making that. I was thinking of doing a one shadow look with that. Also, obviously, like Shimmering Sands. That takes me back. And any kind of like Maybelline quad. Maybelline Expert Wear. Yeah, those things take me back. They are still selling natural smokes. I think I have it. Yep, I found it. That little quad. And they had the packaging that was kind of curved down and like pointed tips. That takes me back more, but there's Natural Smokes. I could use that today. But it's the single that takes me more back, because I wasn't into this until definitely, like, I was down here in Southern Illinois. And I had a blue eyeshadow single too from CoverGirl way back when. Used that a lot in high school. Thought it was really my color. And I had this random blue eyeshadow from that Bonbons line. Am I speaking anyone's language here? Remember those little things, like teeny tiny little nail polishes, and then they had some random makeup too? I don't know what to do, gang. Let's do the one shadow look. We'll use this another day. And believe me, I will. This is Nude Glow from Maybelline. So unlike the old days, I'm gonna bring in a brush, you know, to really get this going. When I was first starting, I was really just using sponge tips. May have acquired 1 or 2 rogue eye brushes, maybe sometime. But this can form a little bit of a crease, but it's got shimmer. So just be aware of that. You don't want to get too heavy with it, but you can see the difference, you know, applied here, not applied. And I was thinking about mascaras last night. I was sitting on the couch, like going through every step and thinking about what took me back. And really for me, it's CoverGirl mascaras. Pre-Lash Blast era, like we're talking Professional Lash, Extra Super Thick Lash, things like that. And I don't own those right now. So I'll have to find something else that makes me feel that way. But I think what makes you feel the most nostalgic are the things that you personally started with. So now I'm going to take my sponge tip into this, now that I've gotten the crease, and I'm just going to apply this to the eye. And this is going to be a different kind of application because we're really patting it on, so the shimmer is going to show more, and this is actually a nicely pigmented shadow. But see how the shimmer kind of pops off on the lid where it just sort of fades somewhat in the crease? Good stuff, Maybelline. Eyeshadow was not like huge and intricate for me in the early days. I mean, Shimmering Sands was probably as intense as it got, but for some reason singles really make me feel like back in the day. Drugstore singles. Also, for liners, yes, eyeliner was something I was for some reason willing to experiment with, but always the liners with the little smudge tip at the end. Revlon or CoverGirl. You know, CoverGirl, what were they called? Perfect Point Plus. And there was always the smudger tip. Why did I think, oh my gosh, if I don't have the smudge tip, I'm maybe not willing to buy this product. So I've got one here from Revlon Colorstay, New Age. This is the shade Jade, and I'm wearing some dark green today. I thought maybe a little green liner might be fun. So I'm gonna do that. And I'll try to work in that smudge tip, that all-important smudger. Like, that was blending. That was maybe the only way I blended anything. The smudge tip on the eyeliner. That'll do it. There's also a sharpener tip to keep it very formed. But I use that little smudger. Well, let's just soften it up. I do seem to remember getting into liquid liner at an oddly early age. Like, I think I was in high school. I remembered my mom had this Maybelline, I think it was called Ultra Liner, that she always used. She said it never came off. First makeup ever put on me, as I recall, was Mom had the Cheekers blush in Pretty Peach, and we were about to get our Olin Mills family picture done for the church directory, and I had this white fuzzy sweater on. My hair was nicely done, but she told me I needed some blush. I was probably in late junior high years when that picture happened. I've got a green line. This isn't quite as dark, this Jade shade, as I was expecting. I think I'm going to do a little on the lower lash line too, for that matter. Good. Go Revlon. Any kind of colored liner does take me back too, because I remember using some blue eyeliner. And I did it because Erin, who was a year ahead of me, she always wore blue eyeliner. So I thought, she's a brown-eyed girl like me and she's using blue eyeliner. Maybe I should too. So I did that. But today we're doing green. But always, it must have a smudge tip. Why was I like that? Like I mentioned, it's the CoverGirl mascaras. I gotta get over to CoverGirl's website right this minute and see what mascaras from the old days are still being sold. Wait, what? I don't want to join the club. I don't need 15%. Okay, I'm seeing Lash Blast. Okay, Professional Remarkable mascara. Remember, they're washable, waterproof. Yes, that's the oldest one I can see that they have. I'm not seeing Professional Lash, you know, in the blue tube. That was where I started. Like, I own the Super Cloud and the Cleantopia in the navy, but these don't take me back. They don't give me that feeling. The mascara that I own currently that's like fresh and in my rotation that makes me feel the most nostalgic would be Healthy Volume from Neutrogena. I do remember this. I remember seeing this in ads. Remember that classic spiraled around big old brush. Another one that I don't currently have, what was that called? Illegal Lengths from Maybelline. I think it's been completely redone and repackaged, but the original one of that really agreed with me. If we're talking the college years, I was hooked on L'Oreal Double Extend with the white end for the primer, and it looked like a gold end on the outside, but it was the black mascara that you would put on top. Love that. Many a repurchase was made from the Monmouth Shop Co. Gonna use my Healthy Volume. See what we can make out of these lashes today. I might sneak in some e.l.f. lash extender on the lower lashes just to make me feel alive. But really, to take me back, it does kind of need to be a classic brush like this too. Rubber bristle brushes, those came later. Let's get some bulk. I remember getting this one fairly recently and being like, yeah, I do like what that's doing. It does not clump, but it does lengthen out, and it's giving me the look of more lashes. And I'm liking that green liner. I knew exactly what I was going to do for lips though, guys. The whole vibe for me starting out was a neutral shimmer. Lipsticks from basically anybody who sold that type of thing. Some frost, but it had to be like medium, kind of brownish. That was the look. I wasn't big into lip liner, as I recall. That just wasn't a concern for me. But then all the balms and glosses, what takes me back are the highly fruity ones, like the Milani Fruit Fetish, as you're going to see. Those are what speak to me. Any brand that's putting a real emphasis on scent, I'm totally back there because we had a lot of access to things that did that. I mean, remember all the lip balms and fun stuff from Jane and Lip Smackers, all the borderline, like more makeup-y pigmented things that Bonnie Bell was doing at that time. And then different lines like for lip balm, Naturistics. Anyone? Strongly fruity scented stuff. So when you see me like go into another realm for a second, when I smell a Milani Fruit Fetish lip oil, that's the transport that's happening there. Everything was so fruity. And also, like, that was my main thing. I might have felt intimidated by foundations and concealers and different things. I was really staying in my lane there, but you release a lip balm, I'm on it. I'm knowing about it, and I'm wanting to try it. Thank you, Mom, for allowing me to, like, pick up a makeup product when we would be shopping in Walmart. Little did she know. The Walmarts we frequented, I'm going to throw it out there in case anybody else is about my age and used to be there a lot as well, because we were in a very small town and we'd have to drive a half hour either east, we'd be going to Macomb Walmart, or half an hour west, we'd be going to the Burlington, Iowa Walmart. One of the two. Maybe I need to do a video going back to my old Walmarts. Because in town, it wasn't until I remember literally shopping for a few things before it was time to move into college. That was when we got our Dollar General in town. I was just about to leave. Otherwise, we had a pharmacy. I don't recall ever getting anything from there except candy. But I do remember seeing the Scott's Pharmacy, like, sticker on a couple of Mom's things. Isn't it funny, the memories that stand out? In case I've been going in and out of focus this whole time, that's Healthy Volume so far, like 2 coats on this eye and probably about to 3 on the other, and I'm not done yet. Like, I still want to see more. I want more. But I'm going to do some lash extender. We're sneaking it in the same way we snuck in Milani eyeshadow primer. File this away under the type of thing I wish I had back then, because I would always notice, like at the end of a day of high school, I had a little mirror in my locker so I could check my makeup. I don't recall doing a lot of changing the makeup, but I just wanted to know, like, what is the status of the makeup downfall now? I would always see smudgies coming under my eye. I would have been better off just not using any of those mascara formulas on my lower lashes, but I could have really used a tubing one. I'm going to let this dry a little bit more on my lashes and do like one more coat and then come back and we'll talk lips. Okay, here we are. Lashes are actually doing pretty good. I added just a little more blush too. And then let's talk about lipstick. Like I said, it had to be neutral. It had to be kind of frosty. So anything I try to this day that has that quality definitely takes me back. The original product was probably one of a few different shades from the CoverGirl Continuous Color lipstick range. But for what I have currently, Smoky Rose from Revlon, this shade is gonna get us there. I'm gonna apply this. It has a soft sheen, and I definitely went even more shimmery or pearly than this, but this is a pearl finish of Super Lustrous. Like I said, I wasn't concerning myself too much with a lip pencil. But can you tell that that has a little sheen? It's pretty. It's popping off a little bit, okay? And then, like I said, some kind of gloss that had a highly fruity, very scent-oriented vibe. So for me, what's taken me back that way most recently has been the new Fruit Fetish lip oils from Milani. Like these scents, this hot cocoa scent, my gosh. You know Jane used that very scent. You know Bonnie Bell had that exact scent in some kind of special edition lip smacker, you know? But I'm gonna put this on top, and this is fairly pigmented, but it's gonna help me lean into that brownish colored lip that I so often wore. Mom, do I look like I used to look? This was my look. This was it. But hopefully, maybe applied a little bit better. This was my look, but with a brow that wasn't tweezed too far. And I'm gonna reinforce the curl of this mascara because I actually think it's doing quite well. It only took 4 coats. I mean, dang, dog, that looks good. I like this makeup look. I like it. So yeah, where do we go from here? I mean, my favorite rediscoveries in this video, actually kind of digging the use of the Maybelline single more than I thought. Like, it's soft, it's shimmery, but for some reason I really like the way that's looking, the nude glow. Really enthused about Brick Rose from CoverGirl. Like, the cheeks needed something and that did it. And it gave me just that little bit of glow for my non-highlighted skin. I've never really strayed too far from my Rimmel Natural Bronzer. And I do continue to use this stick on occasion. I know it's good. I know it's got actually pretty good staying power too. This CoverGirl concealer, it pretty much did everything we asked of her, didn't she? And that lip? Heck yeah. So thank you friends for watching. Let me know if all the makeup that makes you feel nostalgic, and would you be willing to put together a look with it? Let's talk in the comments section, and I will see you again very soon. I love you. Bye.